Hey YouTube, it's me, Jen, your Pudgy Picker.
And Kim.
And we are here again for another podcast. Two sisters.
One booth.
And this is podcast number 22.
Are you sure?
I'm almost certain.
Can you count that high?
Now,
Okay.
once you take your shoes off, we're kind of stuck after 20.
Well, I won't tell you about that accident I had. There were 22 books.
So today we are going to be talking about not necessarily how we store inventory, but we're going to be talking about what the chain of command, if you will, when we buy something at the thrift store until it reaches its final destination as far as the booth or eBay, mainly, of course, since we're talking about the booth. And that's a lot of information because everybody has their way of doing things. Everybody has a certain way of when they get inventory in, how quick they can turn it around. And I think I've gotten into a real habit of doing things a certain way. A lot of people have always said to me, how do you do, all those videos and still have time for eBay and for everything else and then all the other stuff you have to do. And when it comes to the videos, I've gotten so used to incorporating doing the videos in my
process.
Yeah, in my process that it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Honestly. So let's say it's a Monday and I've gone to the thrift store in the morning and, hit my one store at 7 a.m., hit the next one at 9 a.m., and then I bring the stuff home. So first thing I do is when I get it out of my car is I put it on my dining room table. Everyone who knows anything about my channel has seen my dining room every week for 3 years.
Yep.
So I immediately bring everything in. Then I sit down and take everything out of the bags. And then I arrange it in such a way that it's easy for when I have my camera, I can just kind of, glide over the items and not have to move them too much. Sometimes I have to pick up stuff or look underneath so you can see, what the price was. But I lay everything out and then I do a video. So, how's that so far?
That sounds like you. Was that a good answer?
Very organized. I don't know. That might have had a hint of sarcasm.
Organized or a little anal. Well, yeah. We won't go into that.
Hey, whatever gets the job done.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
So, I guess after I do my video, I have usually my cart or a laundry basket, and I put in there the items that are going to go to my office, which is upstairs. Now, this would include items that I'm going to list on eBay or that need to be priced for our booth. I will, if I have things that are seasonal, I will take them down to my basement and I will put them with the other seasonal items so that when that season rolls around, I'm ready to roll. If I have anything that needs a little bit of TLC, if it just needs cleaning or whatever before I either list it or price it for the booth, it will go to my office as well because I have a little basket with my Gooby Gone and paper towels and baby wipes and a duster and that kind of thing. So if it does need a little bit of spit shining before I price it, that's an easy fix and it goes upstairs. If it needs more than that, if it needs a nail, if it's rickety, or it needs any kind of other attention, it goes to my basement because that's where I have a workbench. Mm-hmm. You with me? You with me?
I'm so full.
She's hanging on every word.
She fed me so well tonight. I'm so full. Yes, go ahead.
Don't
listening.
nod off. I will have to poke you.
And I had my coffee here. I can't be any happier than a tick on a dog.
You couldn't be any happier for your twins. So that's where I'm at so far. So like I said, if it needs a certain amount of attention, just a little bit, or it's something that I know is going to go out to my booth pretty much right away, then it goes to my office. If it needs more than a little bit of TLC, or it is a seasonal item, it goes down to the basement.
Yep.
So that's where everything's divided up. So if I take stuff downstairs, I have a bin or a little area where I can set things that need attention. And that pile has gotten almost out of control here recently. So I need...
Well, cold weather's coming. You'll have time
Yep.
to sit and fiddle.
Yep, so I have a certain amount of time that
Like
I'm going
today.
to have to sit down there and, go through and see. I have a pile of stuff that needs to be spray painted. So I got to get on that in the next couple weeks before it gets too chilly outside.
Well, you have an enclosed garage. When you have the cars
Yeah.
outside, you'll have it. It'll be good enough to be able to do out there when it's cool.
Yeah, so I have that to do yet. And then, like I said, if I have seasonal items, I have, for fall and winter and summer, I have 2 big containers with a lid on it, and I go ahead and put those items in there right away. So as the season's approaching, I can pull that out, go through it, price it, and then it can go right out to the booth when it's time for it to go. Then I have it sitting in an area where if it needs a little bit of attention, then it's... I have actually been buying a few things to finish a few projects, so I'm proud I've gotten that far. I got 2, this summer I got 2 round, they almost look like a quilt square stained glass. They're round and they're bigger, I'd say bigger than a dinner plate, and they had a chain on them. And evidently wherever these were hung up and somebody was painting whatever they were hanging on white, and they just went right over
The chain.
and
They wanted the chain to blend in. They didn't want you to see the chain, I guess.
so yeah, that kind of lowers the value. So I went, when I was at one of the big box stores, I got like 1.5 yards of chain, and I got 2 of those. So I will be taking care of that so they can go out. And I have 2 cans of white spray paint and 2 cans of flat black spray paint. So
2 cans.
I'm ready to go.
1 for each hand.
That's right. So yeah, so that's for when stuff goes down to the basement. When I take things upstairs to go either on eBay or my booth, I pretty much price things right away, clean them up and price them if they're going to go straight out to the booth. And then if it's going to be something I'm going to list on eBay, I have a couple of plastic bins that I have by my office desk that I will put in. One of the big containers is I need to do research on it and I need to do photographs. So what I'll usually do is do my photographs on one day, and then I'll do all my research on another, and I have really big sticky notes. So I can stick that on the item. It has my title, it has how much I'm going to charge, and then it also has my shipping weight. So if I have something that's, 5 ounces, and I'm going to put it in a padded envelope, then I'll add maybe 2 or 3 ounces, or 4, depending on how big it is. Add that in so that when it comes time to list that, I already have exactly how much it's going to weigh.
Your shipping supplies, do you have it memorized for how much one? Or do you have it wrote down somewhere?
I have it pretty much memorized. If it's an item that's going to need a lot of packing, I will add a pound. That will include the box, any bubble wrap, tape, label, shipping invoice, everything. So, and that's usually really spot on. If it's going to be a bubble mailer, then I add, like I said, I'll add maybe 3 or 4 ounces. If it's going to be just a poly bag, like if it's yarn or something, then I only add like 2 ounces because those are really super light. And I, for the most part, I'm pretty much spot on. I haven't made any big, holy cow, boy, did I really underestimate how much it's going to be on my shipping. So I've gotten pretty good. That was one of the hardest things, I think, in the beginning, was the whole shipping process, how to estimate it and all that stuff. So that stuff goes upstairs. As soon as I do get it listed and it is ready for storage, it will go to my basement. And one half of the basement is mainly booth things, and then the other half is a storage system for my eBay inventory. So my eBay inventory doesn't go down to the basement until it is listed and ready to go, so that when I do sell something, I can go down there. I have, a book, I keep track of all that, so I'm able to pull the item and then get it ready for shipping. So that's basically how I do it.
In a nutshell.
Whew.
Well, now you have your pretty little room.
Yes, my shipping room, I did a video on that, so if you want to go back, a week or two and look at that, I know I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of storage space, and, trying to keep that organized so that when I know I have a certain amount, boy, I got a whole bunch of this particular item, I should pull that out now. I try and keep things organized so that when I go to pull an item and take it with me, I'm not digging around and wasting a lot of time trying to find stuff. Being organized may seem like a lot of work. It may be up front, but when you have something that's sold on eBay, or you have something that needs to go out to the booth and you can't find it, especially if somebody bought it on eBay, that is really a terrible feeling, to be like, oh,
I had that happen. There was
no.
something I had forgot that I had listed, and it was just on that reoccurring renewal. It was a man's tie, and I all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, one day got that ching and went, OMG,
Oh, no.
where in the world could this be?
So you got excited because you heard the cha-ching, and then when you looked,
and
you're
then
like,
it was like,
ah.
So yeah, I ended up finding it. It wasn't that bad, but I was in panic mode there for a little while, so I
hate
know
that.
how that is.
Yeah, and I'm pretty good about packaging things well, getting things shipped on time. I actually had a tea set that I sold. It was it was from the 60s. Had like really colorful birds and stuff on it. I had 3 cups, a salt or a creamer, and then a sugar with the lid, and then the teapot with a lid. And I sold it for like $30. So happy. And I was very careful. I got everything wrapped up, ready to go. 2 days later, of course, it went priority, so it got there quick. The person messaged me and said something got broke, and I was like, oh no. So I said, what was it that was broke? They said one of the cups, the handle busted off. So I said, please send me a picture. So they sent me a picture. And instead of saying, oh, I'll just give you your money back, or here, I'll give you, $10, or I'll give you half, or I always ask the customer first. I know this is very off topic but I know a lot of people sell on eBay. So I say, what would be a fair settlement for you that would satisfy you for this, this unfortunate incident? And they said, well, actually, I already have several of the cups and was delighted to find the other items to go, so I'm glad it was the cup that got broke. If you just want to give me $3 to $5 back, I would be fine with that. And I was like, yes! So I immediately, said, I'm going to give you the $5 back. Again, I apologize. I'm sorry. As careful as I try to be, things happen. And she was like, no, I'm glad you were, communicating with me and you got back to me so quick. And she left me a positive that same day. So, there are people who are not reasonable at times. But just, trying to be on top of stuff is a big deal. And when somebody says, hey, I have a problem, and it's like radio silence, that can really irk them, because if they say, hey, I really want to buy this, I have a question, you're Johnny on the spot. But if there's a problem, you got to be just as quick.
Did you file a thing for the...
No, I didn't.
You got a picture proving it, and that,
Yeah,
the way you shipped it, it should have been covered.
I
So
probably
you
should.
should.
I rarely have anything break. Rarely.
I've had only one item break so far, and it was a coffee cup handle. Just no matter what you do, sometimes,
I mean, I think she was more forgiving because she,
Had this set.
she was glad that it was
that
that.
wasn't-
She said if it would have been terrible had it been the coffee pot or the the creamer. So but people who are for the most part reasonable, and I always say, what would be a fair solution to you is kind of how I pose it, because a lot of times they're like, oh well, I don't really need anything back. I mean, I'll usually give them a little something just to make everybody feel warm and fuzzy. But, if somebody is extremely demanding and, wants more back, but $3 to $5, I was like, I can do that.
Well, unfortunately, no matter what level or what type of sales you're doing, whether it's in a brick and mortar store, as they say, like, our store is, or if it's on eBay, the number one thing to remember is customers are always right in their face anyway. You don't tell behind their back you ain't right. But if you always look at it as everyone wants to immediately think people are trying to scam them or get something from you for free, or you can't take that negative look. If you do like you did, you look at it a positive, allow the other person to speak first, because that will also give you an indication of where they sit. And then you can handle it from there. And like you say, most people aren't out to rip you off or anything else.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, if if a lot of people, oh, that person, there's that automatic jump to think that someone's going to be dishonest. And I try and just look at it purely as a business. It's a business transaction, and what can we do to get through this where you're happy, I'm happy, and we can move on. So
yeah, and that makes repeat customers.
Yep.
Too, because they'll be more likely to come back and look at your stuff or know that they can deal with you. And sometimes people hesitate to buy something because you're like, oh man, are they going to be able to get that to me, or is it going to be in one piece, or is it really what's described? But when you've dealt with them and you've had a good experience with them, you're not as hesitant to buy from them again. And
to underestimate things, I've had a couple people say it's better than it was described. So you don't want to say it's okay, but I really veer away from. I know this is like totally off subject, but
isn't it though? But that's us.
But I always try. I never say it's mint condition. It's perfect.
Oh, no,
I try and stay away from statements that are opinions.
Yes.
I'll say it is new with tag. If it's closed, it doesn't have any rips, any tears, any fading, no pilling. I make sure that everything is as honestly described as possible. Then if you do that, then if people, a lot of people don't read, unfortunately. That's a whole nother problem. But you're covering your basis. So if something does need to get returned, and eBay needs to see, how did you handle this issue? Now, if she would have said, like she did, $3 to $5 back, that would be fine. And then if I were to say, okay, here you go, I gave you back your $5, and hope everything's fine, and then she turned around and left a negative, she initiated what should be the settlement, and I could get that removed.
Yep.
So that's another reason that you want to, kind of let them lead you and go from there, and then they feel like they have some kind of power in the situation.
Well, it's like a little kid coming up to you, Mommy, where'd I come from? If you're smart, you don't just jump right into that conversation.
Amen to that.
Because after all of that, little Johnny could say, well, so-and-so said they came from across town. And
they came from Albuquerque. That doesn't make any sense what you just told me.
So, sometimes, it's better to let it go that way. It turned out good for you. You did the right thing. I'm so proud of you, sissy.
That's one of I don't watch Dr. Phil all that much anymore, but I know one of his sayings is never miss a good opportunity to shut up.
There you
it's
go.
Like, sometimes you just have to be quiet and just let them decide how it's going to go. And then they felt powerless when they got it and it was broke. And then, they were able to say, well, this is what I want and this is what would be good for me. And then, everybody feels a little, warm and fuzzy about it. So
yeah, with mine, I just by chance had a second identical cup coffee mug. So I went ahead and sent that one out to them.
What are the chances?
I know.
It's good.
But, yeah.
So, as far as when you buy things, how is there anything you do necessarily different other than not doing videos?
Yeah, I could keep it short and sweet. I look at it, wrap it back up, stick it in the bag, and I got a death pile to go through.
I am more organized than she is.
Well,
but
we have different circumstances, and I think that's part of it, you know.
Excuses. Oh, sorry. I'm okay. I'm better now.
If you hear her screaming in the background, it's only me stomping on her foot over here. No, yeah, no. I've been trying to get my daughter moved out, so I've been starting to work in her room to set up all of my stuff down there so I can get it better organized. I started to do that, but then circumstances came by where I didn't have the time to complete that. So, but yeah, I have like most of my coffee mugs and everything are in 2 places. But yeah, I'm not as organized or as deep into it as you are at the moment. I do plan on being there as my circumstances are settling a little bit better now that I can try to do a little better myself. But
yeah, I find that if I, sometimes you're like, oh, just, your automatic inclination might be, I'll just throw it here, I'll just put it, and I try and stop myself from doing that because I know I'm going to have to deal with that in the future. And if I put it where it basically goes, and if I take that time and do it right now, then it's less work in the future. And then if we go to change out our display in the front, or, hey, I can think, what do I have a lot of? I have a lot of bird cages right now. So I think we might eventually, maybe in the spring, do bird cages.
There you go.
So, I mean, then I'm always thinking, like I got all this nautical stuff. Okay. So I was able to pull the few nautical things I had from, the booth already. And then stuff I had at home. I walked around. Oh, yeah, I got this. So I was able to, have those items pretty much, at my fingertips and know where they are.
Well,
and if you have clear boxes, that makes it even nicer.
Yes, I was going to say, but this podcast is more of a what to do and what not to do, and with her do what to do and me not to do. I haven't had the monies or time to do a lot of shopping. A lot of the things that I tend to get, if it's eBay related, I tend not to get them put where they need to go, where they should go. I haven't been finding a lot because unfortunately I wasn't able to do any garage sailing or anything this year.
It hasn't been that great, to be honest with you. I like to say.
So the stuff that I'm actually buying, if I'm buying anything, has been more for eBay. If I'm buying things that are going to go out to the store, then I do tend to put them out there on the porch. And then when the weather's nice, it's nice to go out there and sit on the porch and price them. It's an enclosed porch. Has a glass top picnic, well, what do you call them? Picnic table, dining table?
Yeah.
Outdoorsy patio, yeah.
Table.
So, I'll get a collection of things going there because I bring my cart that I have, like she has, and I bring it up on the porch. So when I price things out and I put it down in the cart, and then I just take the cart out to the car when I go. But that's my only real thing is if it's for the store, it's mostly out there on the porch.
Yeah, I have, it's funny today, Kim ended up being late at her job and I didn't have a lot to go out. So I said, you know what, just go home and I'll meet you there. So I actually didn't bring my cart today. I had a bag that had my little toolbox.
Yep.
It had a purse. It had a couple handfuls of fabric.
I didn't get to see the fabric.
It wasn't that.
Okay.
It was very 70s, so
I'll let you
not
slide.
fun 70s
No,
either. It was
no.
kind of sad,
Yeah.
scary.
Oh, browns. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took that out, and then that's all I had. So I had a bag, and then I had like a little side table. And there was enough room in the booth to put it in there. So I didn't even have to go back to the back. I was wondering because it was not big enough to go back there. And if you try and squeeze something back there, and it has to be at least 84 inches tall. Well, you add the tall, width, and the depth. And if it's less than 84 inches, it's got to be in your booth. So that, it certainly wouldn't have qualified. But you know that little blue side table I had with the little basket drawer?
Yeah.
It sold.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I put this particular table.
That's a good spot for it.
So, yeah. So I pulled a few things, from the rest of the booth and kind of, staged it. So it was, I was able to do that. But that's all that I took out today and it was just a matter of straightening up. There's a few bare spots on the wall, so I just kind of, switched things around a bit and straightened up, and that was pretty much it.
Well, I'm working Saturday, so I'll be able to peek in on everything on Saturday.
Yeah, just give it a quick once over. It should be good, but you never know.
Yeah,
They were since this is the first day of the week we're open, since the store is closed Monday and Tuesday. They said it was really slow because the weather was really nice, and it's turning a little bit cooler. So I think people are like, "Oh, I got more yard work. I got to get
the
done."
holiday weekend, and people are probably out cooking and.
Yeah, so it wasn't really busy today. So when I went in there, I mean, sometimes you come in on Wednesday, and it looks like a bomb went off over the weekend.
Yeah.
This, I don't know, it wasn't too bad. So
well, I'm wondering because we're having a lot of rain, and we're supposed to have really nice weather on Saturday. It's going to be cool, but the sun's supposed to be peeking out and not raining. So so I'm not sure how that's going to be. If people are going to be glad to get out because it's not raining. Or if they'll be like, I want to go do some more stuff before it gets any cooler.
Yeah, and especially if you got yard work or anything you've been putting off, it's one of those.
About that.
It gets a little cooler, and you're like, oh boy, I'm running out of time. So I totally get that. So you never know.
I'm watching the leaves on some of the trees are already starting to change. I'm like, no, it's too early.
Yep. I'm looking forward. I love fall, and I love winter, and you're the spring summer person. So
I'm flip flop. I want flip flops. I hate
what do you mean
shoes
you can't
and
make
boots.
up your mind? You should be a politician if you're a flip flop.
No, I wear my flip flops and sandals till the snow gets.
I was
going to
say, that's what it snows like more than an inch. It's more than a
That's
dusting.
right.
It's like darn, I got to put them away.
But I hate wearing shoes. I don't know why. Always been that way. I just don't like wearing shoes and jackets and coats, and I just hate that. I just hate it.
I remember when I was a kid, I always went barefoot. And we had a gravel driveway back then.
Oh yeah.
And as a kid, I could run across that thing like it was hot coals and not even flinch. Now I go outside to get something out of the mailbox, and I step on a pea-sized pebble, and I practically crumple to the ground, like that hurt. But man, when I was a kid, the bottom of my feet was like leather.
Yeah, I just can't do that. I just can't. I hate it. I was telling her earlier, I wish I lived someplace warm.
Well, I'd come visit you only in the winter.
I was going to say, us and our tropical heat waves that we keep getting here.
Yeah, but I don't know. I always love living somewhere where I can see a change of the season. And by the time it's ready for fall, I'm speaking personally.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I've kind of had enough of the heat. And then in the fall, it's in the winter, and by the time winter's starting to wind up, you're like, I've had enough of snow. I mean, that's how it works for me. So
I just hate that we only have like 3 months, maybe 12 weeks of summer.
Yep.
And the fall is pretty, and it's nice, and it's crisp, and it's all that fun stuff. But then after all the leaves fall and everything's gray.
Yeah.
It's gray and it's dingy, and I hate it.
Well, once you get a dusting of snow, then it's pretty again.
Yeah, until the snow plows go through and all that black sludge gets thrown in your front yard, then it's not pretty again.
See, when we were kids, and I don't know if this must have been the same with you since you're a little bit older, and Dad probably had the rule since the day this house was built, is you could play in the backyard, the side yard. You, in the wintertime, were not allowed to play in the front yard.
Yep.
He wanted one piece of pristine, beautiful snow. And if there was footprints, man, there was an inquisition.
And
who was in the front yard?
I'm still that way. The neighbors' kids will go running through or something. That makes me so mad. The mailman, ever since I moved over here, the mailman would like to come down off the porch and cut right through the yard. And so I put plants there. So then he steps over the plants. So then I got a little fence thing, and he'd step over the fence. So then I got the taller one with the chain, and now he'd walk to the end of the sidewalk to the driveway, and then cut across. It's like, all right,
you need landmines or something.
Quicksand, something. I get it. I mean, that's a lot of walking, but that's part of your job. Stay out of my yard.
You're getting to be such a crotchety old lady.
Am.
Stay off my grass.
Well, at least I don't tell my neighbor that their weeds are creeping into my yard.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, I must have left them off the leash that day.
Because you are responsible for every scrap of living thing on your property.
and like I can control bird poop. They eat the seeds, and they fly over your yard and they poop. It's not my fault that they're over there, okay?
Especially if you have like a mulberry bush or something, then you get a
And I
pretty
do.
little purple little
I
splatch
do.
there.
I have those ones Dad planted that keep coming up, and he was complaining about that because the one was growing up under the edge of the. I'm sorry, I can't control my grass and my trees.
Take a deep breath.
I know.
Well, if you lived out in Arizona, you could just have rocks. Then it'd probably be like, your rock stumbled over onto my...
Yeah. Your rocks are in the wrong spot. They're wrong shape.
Yes, I'm gonna monogram every last one of them so you know who they belong to. So, yeah, I mean, this isn't going to be as long of a podcast as, as they usually are, but I think it's important to, no matter what you choose to do when inventory comes into your house, is to have a way of dealing with it.
A routine.
Yes, because like I said before, a lot of people, oh, how in the world do you manage to do videos and all that? It's part of my routine. It's the first step. As soon as the stuff gets in the door, and I have a little, what they call a step basket on my steps going up to my office, and in there I have my microphone that I can attach to my phone.
Whoops, excuse me.
And I'll have what you're having.
Hey, just coffee.
And so I just, automatically just, plug the microphone in and just right away, if there's anybody home, I yell, I'm going to do a video, everybody be quiet. So everybody listens except the dogs. So
yes, they were yapping in the background for you today.
Oh, I know. So between having people visiting over the, the holiday, and then our landlord's been doing some yard work, so there's been a yap fest at my house for like 4 or 5 days.
They should be horse by now.
Oh my
Instead
goodness!
Instead of dog, they should be horse.
I tell you, Tater barks so much that in the evenings she's flaked out on the couch, and Mr. Pudgy Picker will reach over and give her a shake and go, "What? Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping?" I'm like, she's not really going to get the irony of what you're trying to prove to her, so that she can say, "Yeah, I probably should have barked," or yeah, you're giving her way too much credit for that. So, but yeah, having a chain of command as soon as things come in, make a decision, what you're going to do with them, what they need, and then going from there. And also talking about if you buy a certain amount of stuff that does need more than a dusting, cleaning, more than 3 to 4 minutes worth of attention, keep in mind that those projects are going to pile up, because some people, oh, I could this and I could that.
No.
And then there's so many projects you just want to pull your hair out or pull it out and sell it at your garage sale for $1 just so you don't have to look at it anymore.
I don't know anyone like that.
I have no idea. I'm just imagining what
There's got to be someone out there.
Yeah. So I've had in fact, I bought a cabinet that had some panels and 2 doors on the bottom, and it was like a liquor cabinet, a smaller one. And there was panels in the door that was almost like like a woven kind of panel, and one of those evidently fell out of the door. I can't find that thing to save my neck, and now I'm going to have to think of something to put in there if I want to sell the dumb thing.
Oh, that'll be easy. I'll talk to you about it after the show and
you
give
can
you
come
some.
over and
Oh, okay, I see.
So yeah, I mean, it's okay to, if you got great plans and you got great follow through, by all means, pick up stuff, or, oh, that's only $5 and I could this and I could that and then I'll get this for it. But all of us know what we are capable of following through on, and you get to a certain point when you have 10 projects, you probably shouldn't take on any more. I don't know, just saying, everybody knows what they can accomplish, but don't overestimate what you think you can get done. For us, like Kim said, I can catch up on those things, in the fall and in the winter, because I'm not out getting as much. So if anything does need more than a few minutes, or, it needs some of that Howard's, furniture restore, I got to rub a piece down before it goes out. Anything over, like I said, 3 to 4 minutes of attention, that can be done, over the season, and then that stuff can go out during the winter. And, I like to get my inventory other than seasonal. I like to get a lot of my inventory that I've bought over the summer to get that cleared out and sold so that when garage sale season rolls around again, I'm ready to go out there and start acquiring again.
Ready to get the dust bunnies out of your bins and fill them up.
Yep. So, I don't know, garage sale season's been kind of this season. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if people... I know that...
We had a real wet summer again, and it seemed like it was always on the weekends when it rained.
Yeah.
So I think that put off a lot of people, too.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things, too, that school has really shifted, that the kids are getting out earlier, but they're going back really. They went back really early this year. I mean, when I was a kid... I know, here we go. We'll start playing the old-timey music. We started after Labor Day. This time, they started the second week of August.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people were they were so focused on buying school supplies and getting their kids ready and that kind of thing that, garage sale, the idea of having a garage sale just dropped on the priority list.
Yeah.
And then by the time the kids go back, people start thinking, well, summer's done.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the weather's still decent, and you could still have it when it's a little chilly outside, that's okay.
Yeah.
But, for a season around here, you gotta squeeze it in when you can.
We live right up on Lake Erie, and, me especially, since you moved, you're not as close now, but we live in the snow belt, so we get the snow right off the lake. And we may get snow a little later in the season, but once it starts to hit, and that's why we start so early around here, because there'll be times where they have to shut school down a number of times, and they got to make sure they have enough time to make up the required days and hours that are required for them to get through the school year. So, but yeah, it did start really early this year.
Because once it's lake effect, it's that cold air coming over the lake.
Yep.
And it picks up all that moisture, and then it just turns into snow and just dumps.
And unless the lake freezes over,
if you get a good wind going a certain direction, it can it's like a machine. It just starts churning it out.
Because when you look at the map, we're higher up than Cleveland, sort of like Buffalo and New York, and that gets hit because the air comes right across that lake and pushes it right into them. So we get the beginnings of that where we're at because we're higher than Cleveland, so it comes across that water, and we get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know a lot of people have said, too, that if they live in a warmer climate, if they live, in Florida or Texas, that even when it's like in summer, when it's really hot, people don't have garage sales. So they don't necessarily have a season, but they have a certain amount of time that nobody wants to sit outside when it's 114 and sweat trying to peddle their junk. There just ain't enough money in it for them. They're like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And some people around here can have garage sales 3 to 4 days.
Oh, I know.
I don't know. I don't think I could manage that, man. That would, whew.
No. Mm-mm.
So, yeah.
That's a career. That's not a specialty store.
That's too much. That's just, that's, and like I said, when it's really hot, and a lot of people, in places where it is, they don't get snow, in the fall and winter, they have more garage sales because it's cooled off and it's easier to move around. And so,
I need to go there.
Don't go there.
Don't go there.
You gotta stay here by me. Wow.
We just had that discussion about weather. I'm getting to be an old prude. It's like, I just hate the thought. I love snow and it's so pretty and everything else, but, I just hate it's too long. I want more sun.
You need like a shade you pull down in the window and it looks like a winter scene. You're like, okay, I'm done. Put it back up.
I used to, and I've told my kids when I was a little kid, I'd stand there and look out my bedroom window and I would pretend it would be so neat to have this clock on the wall, and you could set this clock is divided into four slices. And 1/4 of that clock is summer and 1/4 is spring and one's fall and one's winter. So you could go out in your yard and have this clock set up so you could go play in the snow. You get cold, you'd run over into summer and warm back up.
Wow.
And you wanted something in between, you go sit
We
in
would
the
have
fall
so many colds. We would all just, nobody would ever make it to work or school.
But I'm eclectic in so many things in life, including those thought processes. So, yeah, that would be nice not to have to be stuck in one too long.
That's the word you're going with.
Now.
Because knowing us as kids, we'd be out there in shorts and winter mouty. Get out of there! You're all going to freeze. You're going to catch your death of cold. So, yeah. So like I said, having some kind of idea how you're going to put stuff in, and you'll find if you're new at running a booth, you're gonna constantly feel like you're taking tons of stuff out. You keep going, trying to get it to that where you kind of want it. And then you get to a point where,
comfortably full.
Yeah, that you don't have to take out that much. And if you miss a week of taking stuff out, it's okay. It's.
Well, I can remember, like, you'd be garage sailing and you'd have all this neat stuff and you're trying to cram it in. Because it's hard when you've got all this neat stuff. You hate
we want everybody to see it,
Yeah,
It's
you don't
like,
want to
it's
put
so
it in the
good.
basement. What's with that? I want to sell it.
Yeah.
So you can get a little overcrowded in your zealous
Well,
activity.
you know what I always tell people, it can look crowded if, as long as it's safe, but my house doesn't look like that because the booth looks the way it does. If that booth had barely anything in it, guess where all that crap, great, awesome stuff people need, guess where it would be? In my house. And when I work, I want to be surrounded by all my stuff that I'm going to be selling. And when in the evenings, when I want to do what I want to do and spend time with my family, I don't want to look at it. And I know it's easy in this business to go in and have a little bit of something from the business in every room in your house. And I really, really strive hard to make sure that isn't the case. Because it's like going to work and then, your desk is stuck to your body as you go home and you sit down on the couch and it's sitting right next to you,
Well, in this business, it's hard to do that, though, because you have inventory.
Yep.
It's not a virtual inventory. This is real life physical stuff. And it will tend to overrun you if you allow it to.
Yeah.
So you have one room, you can go and shut the door. You don't have to look at it as much.
That'd be awesome.
But I hear a lot of the different groups that I follow or join into, and that's a main theme with a lot of them. And my husband can't stand it. It's all in the living room. It's in the dining room. Oh no.
Yeah.
I may not be as minimalist as you are, but I couldn't stand to have that all around me all the time either.
No.
Even right now, I've got a sewing machine sitting in my living room in a case or in a
She's
piece
got
of
her hand on it
furniture.
right now.
Yes,
It's right there.
And it shouldn't be here, and it looks awkward here, but it was $3 at an auction, and I've read that this one's a real workhorse. So I wanted it somewhere where I could get to it and see if it works and if it needs a little cleanup or whatever, and then I'll switch it out for the table in my other room. But that's another story. But so that's a little awkward in here, but I try not to do that otherwise because I don't like the mess that it causes either.
Yeah. I told Mr. Pudgy Picker jokingly, and he said, after I told him this, and I thought, maybe I planted a seed. We're renting now, and I said, when we decide to buy a house, we should get a duplex, and half of it we could put all of our business stuff in, and the other half we could just live in. And he's like, And I'm like, whoa, maybe that would be awesome. Essentially have a house. And you can, have your office, you can have your photo area where you take pictures, and you can have where things are, inventory, or it's listed on eBay and it's ready to go, or then have an area for your shipping. And I'm like, whoa, that would be awesome. So at least with eBay, you have piles of stuff that needs to be listed. And then you have an area where stuff that has been listed is waiting to be shipped. So you kind of have one or the other. With the inventory for the booth, it's like, well, this needs a screw, and this needs a battery, and this needs some cleaning, and this this needs to be painted, or there's so many different stages than there is for eBay in my mind and how I think. So,
I've even you learn and you hone your skills over time, and like you were saying, you have to think about. Do I have time for this? And that's what it comes down to is as you're learning the business and you're perfecting what you're buying, you will look at something differently down the road and go, all it needs is, then you're like, no, that's too much time. And time is money. So as awesome as that is, I know it's going to sit. I'm not going to get to it. Why spend that money on that? I'll do it on other inventory. So you end up passing it by, which is one of the things that was hard for me because I've always been that thrifty kind of person before I was selling. So I was always buying stuff to redo, remake, repaint
For yourself.
For myself.
Yeah.
So that's still part of my instincts when I look at stuff. But I'm getting really good at. I'm proud of me for not picking up all the stuff that I have in the past.
You know, and you think, but it's such a good deal. If you're paying $10 for something that if you spent a huge amount of time you could get $60 for or $70, if you never get to it, you wasted that money, the initial $10 you put into it. So you need to think of it that way. That's like people say, oh, this item was on sale, and just regular people who don't resell. Oh, it's such an awesome item, and it's worth so much more than I got it for. Did you need it? No. Well, then you've flushed that money down the toilet, because if you don't need it, or you can't resell it, you know, or you never get to the point where you make it where it can be resold, then that's a waste of money.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not making any money, you're actually wasting money.
Yeah, but I got this great pair of shoes. It's a $500 pair of shoes, and I only paid $250. Well, that's $250, $249.99 too much in my book.
Or people who get expensive stuff like that. Well, it was half price. Man, even on 75 or 80% off, that's still too much for my...
choking on that bill coming out of my wallet.
Man, I tell you.
No.
And then when it comes to, if you spend a lot on stuff like that, then even if you think, I'm never going to have time to refinish this, but I spent this much money, and or if you buy something for yourself and you think, I don't want it, I don't need it, it doesn't fit, but I paid this money, so it's hanging around your neck, you know. It just it's taking up time, it's taking up space mentally. It's, you know, that's why when I get something and I'm thinking about keeping it, but I could resell it, and I have it sitting out for a while, when I'm tired of looking at it, I paid $2, I'm going to make 25, it's all good. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's all in how you look at stuff. And, you know, I always used to laugh when I was a kid. My mom she'd tell my dad, well, I got this, and then you could get 2 for this price. And my dad would say, how many did you need to buy so that they were free? Typical man fashion of saying something smart, Alec. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the point is, you know, you can get, you know, 90% off of something, and wow, that's a great deal. Do you need it? No. Yep. Would you want it? Would you say you ever wanted it before you saw it? No. Well, it's just, you know, and then not only are you wasting that money, but then it's sitting there and it's looking at you, and you have to dust it and walk around it, and, you know, I tell you, if I could have a milk crate sitting in my living room and a nice bed to lay down in, I don't think I'd need much more than that. I really don't.
I'd have to have a really big milk crate, because I wouldn't want to sit balancing on that thing all night long.
You know, it's one of those things that in this business, it's a good thing not everybody thinks like I do, because I would have no customers then.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm not one to hang on to stuff. You're not going to come into my attic 50 years from now and find any treasures. You're just not, because I move stuff out. I don't keep stuff. I don't buy a lot of stuff. That's what keeps me happy and content, and decluttering my house and keeping it a certain way declutters my mind, and that's how I operate best. So it's almost like my lifestyle and my way of thinking for myself is so much different than the business. It's almost like the worst business you could be in if you're like a minimalist. You know?
Yeah.
So it's tough, and being able to have that stuff, like you said, away from your living area. Mm-hmm. You know, not everybody can do that, and I think that's why a lot of spouses of resellers are just ready to strangle you.
Yep.
Because it's like, I'm tired of looking at it and tripping over it, and I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. No, you never get to it. So, you know, and plus, when you work for yourself, the whole idea is, you know, I could probably work 12, 14 hours a day and never run out of stuff to do. And I'd probably be happy as a clam doing it. And, you know, I have to set limits for myself that I don't garage sale. I don't thrift at certain times of the day. I keep, you know, certain times open for my family. If Mr. Pudgy Picker has to work, or he has something he needs to get done on his computer, for work. He'll say, I got like 2 hours of work. And I said, okay, that'll be this time. I'll go upstairs and I'll work for a little bit and I'll meet you, in that amount of time. So, it's rare that I work, many evenings or much over the weekend unless he's working too, because I'm trying to be very considerate, of our time. So, and like you said, when your work is with you all the time, like, well, maybe I'll just go over there and do a couple hours of work, or 10 minutes of work and it's 2 hours later and you're like, whoa. And when you love what you do, it doesn't seem like work.
Yeah.
So
that's for sure.
And I keep saying I'm going to do this until it's no fun anymore, and then I'm done. And it's still fun, so I'm still going.
Yeah.
So you have anything else to add?
No, I didn't have a whole lot to add to this one. Maybe next time I'll take over the convo and you could sit and nod your head for a change.
Well, if anybody didn't see, last week was the beginning of a show on YouTube. Tanya, Thrifty Treasures, and Tam from Tam's Place and myself are doing a monthly show on YouTube about, I think it's called Antique Booth Talk. And we've done one show this past week. And and that was done, on Wednesday as well. It's the first Wednesday of each month at noon Eastern Standard Time. So, and Wednesday is also the day we do our podcast. So, I've done a lot of talking today.
And she keeps on ticking.
I tell you.
You're so full of hot air. I mean, wisdom.
I don't know. Man,
full of something.
If moving my mouth was exercise, I'd be a size 2 by now. I wouldn't be the Pudgy Picker anymore. So, yeah. So if you get a chance, tune in on that. We're taking turns.
Hosting.
Yeah, hosting. So Tanya does one, I'll do one, Tam does one, and so check it out. It's live streamed, but if you don't have the time or you're working or whatever, you can go back in and watch it on the person that hosted for that month. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Like you don't get enough of me as it is.
I keep having to share you with all these thousands of people.
Well, there's enough of me to go around. If you slice me thin, I'll last forever. So, yeah, and I'm never at a loss for words, so.
That's true.
So, I can talk and talk and talk, and, I don't edit my videos heavily, and I don't, try to restart my video 10 times over. I just talk, and if I say something stupid, I'll laugh it off and keep moving. So doing a live show was not difficult at all.
Yeah, we are the real thing.
Yeah, so what you see is what you get.
Or what you hear is what you get.
Yep, that's it. So,
yeah.
So that is all I guess we have. We hope that you enjoyed our podcast this week. Please give this video or podcast a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. You can also leave them down below, or you can email me, jen@pudgypicker.com. You can follow me on Twitter under The Pudgy Picker, and I am now on Instagram.
Ooh.
Yay! I have had an Instagram account for quite some time, but I finally posted something last week. It's terrible. So I posted my first item. I pulled up my Instagram account and I had 89 followers. And I'm like, these patient people have been waiting for me to post something awesome. So, yeah. And it's pretty much, I'll tell you, the same thing.
Sad people in this world, aren't they? Just hanging.
Why won't she post a picture?
Send her a message.
So, yeah, I'm pretty much doing the same thing on Instagram that I am on Twitter. But I know some people are, I only do one, I don't do the other.
Yeah.
So either way.
Mass do everybody if they're following you and everything.
Yeah. So if I got a funny picture, a funny comment, funny experience, I will let you know. So follow me. And I'm also on Instagram, The Pudgy Picker. So easy to follow me. So we will see you next week, or You won't see us, but you'll be listening to us next week. So until then, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.